The moment your child collapses on stage is forever burned into your memory, like a photograph negative that won't fade no matter how many times you blink. I was sitting in the third row, dead center, watching my 12-year-old daughter, Quinn, perform Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major when her fingers suddenly froze over the keys. My name is Karen, and I've spent the last 15 years of my life making sure nothing bad ever happened to my little girl. But in that moment, as Quinn's face went pale and her body crumpled beside the grand piano, I realized I had failed. "Quinn!" I screamed, already halfway down the aisle before her head hit the stage floor. Other parents were rising from their seats, murmuring in confusion, but I barely registered them. My heels clattered against the wooden steps as I rushed onto the stage. "Give her space!" someone called out, but I pushed past the gathering crowd. Quinn's chest was rising and falling rapidly, her skin clammy to the touch. I knew exactly what this was. She'd missed her medication. But that was impossible. I'd watched her take it myself before the recital. "Mum?" Quinn's voice was barely a whisper. "I don't feel good." "It's okay, baby. I'm here." I reached for her purse, fumbling for the pill case. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely open it. When I did, my blood ran cold. Instead of Quinn's prescribed tablets, there were small, white candies. Sugar pills. "Someone call 911!" I shouted, my voice cracking with panic. "Oh, Karen, don't be so dramatic." My sister Lindsay's voice cut through the chaos like a knife. She stood in the stage wing, arms crossed, wearing that same smirk she'd had since we were kids. "She's probably just nervous." I whirled around. "These aren't her pills. Someone replaced them with candy." "Really?" Lindsay's eyebrows rose in mock surprise. "Well, maybe a little humility would do her good. She's been getting awfully full of herself lately, don't you think?" The world stopped spinning. "What did you say?" "Karen!" My mother Sylvia appeared beside Lindsay, already shaking her head. "Stop causing a scene. Quinn is fine. She's just seeking attention, just like you always did." Quinn's breathing was getting worse. I could see the fear in her eyes as she clutched my hand. "My daughter needs emergency medical attention," I said through gritted teeth, pulling out my phone. "Someone tampered with her medication." "Don't you dare call 911, Sylvia hissed. "Think of how it will look. Think of your sister's wedding next month. We don't need this kind of drama right now." I hit the emergency dial button anyway, watching Lindsay's smirk fade slightly. "Yes, hello?" "My daughter's collapsed at the Riverside Community Centre. She has a medical condition and someone's tampered with her medication." "Karen!" Sylvia grabbed for my phone, but I stepped away. The paramedics arrived within minutes, though it felt like hours. As they loaded Quinn onto a stretcher, I heard Lindsay whisper to our mother, "She's always been jealous of the attention I get. This is probably just another one of her stunts." I watched them wheel my baby girl toward the ambulance, her small hand still reaching for mine. The stage lights felt too bright, the whispers of the lingering audience too loud. My sister's words echoed in my head. A little humility would do her good. That's when something inside me changed. Maybe it was the way Quinn's fingers had trembled as she grasped my hand, or maybe it was 38 years of swallowing my sister's cruelty while our mother looked the other way. But in that moment, watching the ambulance doors close on my daughter's pale face, I made a decision. "Karen," Sylvia called out as I headed for my car. "Where are you going?" "We need to discuss how to handle this situation." I turned to face them both. My mother in her expensive dress, my sister with her perfectly styled hair, and that damn smirk still playing at the corners of her mouth. "I'm going to the hospital with my daughter," I said calmly, "and then I'm going to make sure you both learn what real humility feels like." "Is that a threat?" Lindsay laughed, but there was uncertainty in her eyes now. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Instead, I got in my car and followed the ambulance, my hand steady on the steering wheel for the first time since Quinn collapsed. They thought they knew me. The quiet sister, the obedient daughter, the one who always backed down. but they had never seen me as a mother protecting her child. That was the day I decided they would pay, not just for Quinn's sake, but for every time they'd hurt us and walked away smiling. And I knew exactly where to start. The steady beep of Quinn's heart monitor was the only sound in the hospital room as I watched her sleep. She looked so small in that white bed, her dark hair spread across the pillow like spilled ink. The doctor said she'd be okay, but those hours of uncertainty had aged me a decade. My phone buzzed again, the 15th text from my mother in 2 hours. I finally checked it. Coming home soon? Need help arranging flowers for Lindsay's bridal shower tomorrow. I switched the phone off and dropped it in my purse. That's when I noticed Quinn stirring. Mum. Her voice was scratchy. I'm here, baby. I moved closer, brushing hair from her forehead. How are you feeling? Better. She paused, picking at her blanket. Aunt Lindsay did it, didn't she? She switched my pills. My chest tightened. What makes you say that? I heard her talking to Grandma last week. She said I was showing off with the Chopin piece, that I needed to learn my place. Quinn's eyes met mine. Why does she hate me so much? Before I could answer, my best friend Lara appeared in the doorway, carrying a teddy bear and what looked like legal documents. Hey, sweetie, she said to Quinn, setting the bear beside her. Mind if I borrow your mum for a minute? In the hallway, Lara's smile disappeared. I brought what you asked for, your father's will and trust documents. Thanks. I took the folder, remembering that day 6 months ago when Dad's will was read. Lindsay had been so sure she'd get control of the family trust. The look on her face when it went to me instead. I'd never seen her so angry. Karen, Lara's voice was gentle. What are you planning? I'm going to make sure my sister's perfect wedding never happens. That's a lot of money to mess with. Are you sure? She tried to hurt my daughter Lara on purpose. My voice cracked, and Mum's already trying to sweep it under the rug like she always does. As if on cue, my mother's voice rang out from the elevator bank. Karen, there you are. Sylvia strode toward us in her designer suit, perfectly coiffed as always. Why aren't you answering your phone? The florist needs decisions for tomorrow's shower, and Lindsay is beside herself with worry. Worry? I laughed. About what? That she'll face consequences for once? Don't be ridiculous. Sylvia waved her hand dismissively. Quinn is fine. You're being dramatic as usual. Now, about the flowers. My daughter is in the hospital because Lindsay tampered with her medication. You can't prove that. Sylvia's eyes narrowed. And I won't have you spreading such vicious lies about your sister. You've always been jealous of her success. Success? I stepped closer. What success? Living off Dad's trust fund while I actually work for a living. Ladies, Lara interrupted, this is a hospital. Sylvia straightened her jacket. Karen, I expect you at the house in an hour. We need to discuss how to move forward from this unfortunate incident. Lindsay's wedding is in 4 weeks, and I won't let you ruin it with these accusations. She turned on her heel and left, the click of her shoes echoing down the hallway. Lara touched my arm. What are you thinking? I opened the folder, scanning the trust documents until I found what I was looking for. Dad wasn't stupid. He put in a moral turpitude clause. If either of us commits acts of serious misconduct, access to the trust can be denied. And you have proof of what Lindsay did? I pulled out my phone, opening the security app. The recital hall has cameras everywhere, including backstage where Lindsay admitted what she did. I pressed play, and her voice filled the air. Maybe a little humility would do her good. Lara's eyes widened. That's pretty damning. I'm meeting with the trust lawyers tomorrow. I closed the folder. Lindsay's wedding venue, catering, flowers, it's all being paid through the trust. One signature from me, and it all stops. Your mother will lose her mind. Good. I looked through the window at Quinn, who was already dozing again. Maybe it's time they both learned what real consequences feel like. What about family peace? Peace. I turned to Lara. There's never been peace. There's just been me staying quiet while they hurt anyone they want. But not anymore. I clutched the folder tighter. Not my daughter. Never my daughter. Lara nodded slowly. Need help with the paperwork? Actually, I managed a small smile. I need help with something bigger. How much do you know about wedding planning? Enough to know how to unplan one. We shared a look, and for the first time since Quinn collapsed, I felt steady. Lindsay wanted to teach my daughter about humility? Fine. But first, she'd learn about karma. The trust lawyer's office was exactly what you'd expect, all mahogany and leather, with a view of downtown that probably cost more than my house. I spread the documents across Mr. Patterson's desk while Lara took notes on her tablet. So, let me get this straight, Patterson said, adjusting his glasses. Your sister has already committed to over $150,000 in wedding expenses through the trust. I nodded, pulling up the transaction history on my phone. Venue, deposit, catering, flowers, designer dress, all of it scheduled to clear next week. And you have video evidence of her deliberately endangering your daughter. Plus, medical records and witness statements. I slid the USB drive across his desk. Everything's there. Patterson plugged in the drive and watched the footage, his expression growing darker. When Lindsay's voice came through, maybe a little humility would do her good, he actually winced. Well, he said, removing his glasses, the moral turpitude clause is quite clear. Your father was very specific about protecting the trust from any beneficiary who demonstrated malicious intent or criminal behaviour. So, I can stop the payments. You can do more than that. He tapped the original trust document. You can freeze her access entirely, permanently. My phone buzzed. Another text from Lindsay. Where are you? Vendor needs final payment today. I ignored it. How quickly can we make this happen? I can file the paperwork within the hour. Patterson began typing. But you should know, this will cause quite a stir. Family trusts are meant to protect family, I finished. That's exactly what I'm doing. Back in the parking lot, Lara grabbed my arm. Your phone's blowing up. Sure enough, there were 20 new messages. Most from Lindsay, growing increasingly panicked. Karen, payment didn't go through. Venue manager threatening to cancel. Answer your phone. Then one from my mother. Whatever you're doing, stop it immediately. You're embarrassing the family. It's starting, Lara said quietly. Good. I started my car. Want to grab coffee? I have a feeling we'll need it. At the cafe across street, we hadn't even gotten our drinks when my phone rang. Lindsay's fiancé, Caden. Karen, what's going on? The wedding planner says all the payments are bouncing. Really? I kept my voice neutral. How strange. Lindsay's hysterical. Says you're doing this on purpose. Has she told you about Quinn's recital? About what happened to my daughter? A pause. She said Quinn had a panic attack or something. Ask her about the sugar pills, Caden. Ask her why my 12-year-old ended up in the hospital. Another pause, longer this time. What sugar pills? Check your email in about 5 minutes. You might want to sit down first. I hung up and nodded to Lara, who pressed send on her tablet. The security footage, medical reports, and trust documents were on their way to Caden's inbox. Think he'll actually watch it? Lara asked. He will when the venue cancels tomorrow. My phone buzzed again. My mother. This time I answered. What do you think you're doing? Sylvia's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. Protecting my daughter. By ruining your sister's wedding? This is childish, Karen. I raised you better than this. Did you? I stirred my coffee. Because I remember you raising Lindsay to think she could do whatever she wanted without consequences. How's that working out? If you don't fix this immediately, you'll what? Take away my inheritance? Cut me out of the will? Dad already made sure you couldn't touch this trust. That's why he left it to me. Your father would be ashamed of you. No, I said quietly. He'd be ashamed of you for letting Lindsay hurt Quinn, for defending her instead of protecting your granddaughter. I'm coming over, she snapped. We need to discuss this face to face. I'm not home, and even if I was, there's nothing to discuss. The papers are filed, the trust is frozen, Lindsay's perfect wedding is over. I hung up as another text came through. From Caden. Just watch the video. We need to talk. All of us. Lara leaned forward. Ready for phase 2? I pulled out the second set of documents. Bank statements showing suspicious transfers from the trust to my mother's personal account, labelled as maintenance expenses. Mum's been skimming from the trust for years, I said. Time to freeze her access too. That means she'll lose the house, Lara reminded me. Your childhood home. I thought about Quinn in that hospital bed. About years of watching Lindsay hurt people while our mother looked the other way. About Dad's signature on the trust documents, giving me control because he knew this day would come. Good, I said, reaching for my phone. Time to call Patterson again. The cafe door chimed and Lindsay burst in, mascara running down her face. What have you done? I took a slow sip of coffee. I taught you about humility. Lindsay slammed her hands on our cafe table, making the coffee cups rattle. Fix this, now. I can't, I said calmly. The trust is frozen pending investigation of criminal misconduct. Criminal? She laughed hysterically. It was a joke, a harmless prank. A prank? I stood up slowly. Quinn could have died. Oh, please. Lindsay rolled her eyes. You're so dramatic. She was fine. She was in the hospital. For one night. Meanwhile, you're destroying my entire wedding. Her voice cracked. The venue just cancelled. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Almost as embarrassing as watching your daughter collapse on stage. Lara touched my arm. Maybe we should continue this somewhere more private. Too late. Other customers were already staring, phones out, recording. Perfect. You've always been jealous, Lindsay hissed. Always trying to make everything about you. Even Dad's death. You somehow manipulated him into giving you control of the trust. I never asked for the trust, I said. Dad gave it to me because he knew you couldn't be trusted with it. Ladies? A cafe employee approached nervously. I'm going to have to ask you to... It's fine, I said, gathering my things. We're leaving. Outside, Caden was waiting by his car. His face was stone cold. Lindsay, we need to talk. Not now, honey. She tried to touch his arm, but he stepped back. Yes, now. About the video Karen sent me. About what really happened at Quinn's recital. Lindsay's face went white. What video? The security footage. He pulled out his phone. Where you admitted to switching her medication. Where you said she needed to learn humility. That's not... I didn't... Lindsay spun toward me. You recorded me? The venue recorded you, I corrected. I just requested the footage. You bitch! She lunged at me, but Caden caught her arm. Stop it! He snapped. Do you realise what you did? You could have killed your niece. I would never. But you did, I cut in. And now everyone knows. The venue knows, the caterers know, the florist knows. Want to guess why they're all cancelling? Lindsay's phone buzzed. She looked at it and let out a small sob. The dress shop just cancelled my final fitting. They're refunding the deposit. Karen. My mother's voice made us all turn. She stood there in her Chanel suit, practically vibrating with rage. This ends now. Whatever game you're playing, it's not a game. I handed Caden another envelope. These are bank records showing unauthorized transfers from the trust. Mum's been stealing money for years. Sylvia's face went pale. How dare you? Those were authorized maintenance expenses. For your spa trips, your shopping sprees, your secret apartment in the city. I shook my head. Dad's will was very specific about what qualified as maintenance. Your lifestyle doesn't. What apartment? Lindsay asked sharply. Sylvia shot me a look that could kill. This is ridiculous. I'm your mother. And I'm Quinn's mother. I stepped closer. You chose to protect Lindsay after she hurt my daughter. Now you can both face the consequences. Consequences? Sylvia laughed bitterly. Like what? Like eviction. I pulled out one final document. The house is part of the trust. With your access frozen, you have 30 days to vacate. The colour drained from her face. You wouldn't. Watch me. Caden cleared his throat. I think we need to postpone the wedding. What? Lindsay whirled around. No, we can't. We have to. He wouldn't meet her eyes. I can't marry someone who would deliberately hurt a child. I didn't. Lindsay started crying. Karen, please. You have to fix this. I'll apologise to Quinn. I'll do anything. It's too late. I checked my watch. The trust board meets in an hour to review the evidence. After that, neither of you will ever see a penny from Dad's money again. You'll regret this, Sylvia said quietly. Family is forever, Karen. No, I replied, getting into my car. Family is a choice, and you both made yours when you chose to hurt Quinn. As I drove away, I watched in my rearview mirror. Lindsay crying on the sidewalk, Caden walking to his car alone, my mother standing straight-backed and proud even as her world crumbled. My phone buzzed. A text from Quinn. When are you coming back to the hospital? I smiled, making a U-turn. There was only one family member who mattered now, and she was waiting for me. Behind me, I could hear Lindsay's screams echoing across the parking lot. You've ruined everything. No, I thought. I just showed you what real humility feels like. The attic of my childhood home smelled exactly the same, like old books and broken promises. I hadn't planned on coming here, but Lara insisted we needed to check for documents before my mother's eviction. Look at this, Lara called from behind a stack of boxes. Letters from your dad? Mum keeps everything, I said, but then froze when Lara held them up. They were addressed to me. These were never opened, Lara said quietly. My hands shook as I broke the first seal. The letter was dated just weeks before Dad died. My dearest Karen, if you're reading this, I've finally found the courage to tell you the truth. I've watched for years as your mother and sister hurt you, and my silence makes me complicit. I'm leaving you the trust not because you're more responsible, though you are, but because you're the only one who will protect what's right. I'm sorry I couldn't stop them from hurting you, but I can give you the power to stop them from hurting Quinn. Karen? Lara's voice seemed far away. You okay? I wiped my eyes. He knew. All this time he knew what they were like. A floorboard creaked behind us. What are you doing up here? My mother stood in the attic doorway, her face tight with anger. I held up the letters. When were you going to give these to me? Those are private. They're addressed to me, my voice cracked. Dad wrote them for me, and you hid them. To protect you, she snapped. Your father was confused near the end. He said things he didn't mean, like the truth. I opened another letter. Like how you've been manipulating both your daughters for decades. Get out of my house. It's not your house anymore. I stood up. The trust board made their decision an hour ago. You and Lindsay are both permanently cut off. Her face went blank. You're bluffing. Check your bank account. She pulled out her phone, hands trembling as she typed. The colour drained from her face. What have you done? What Dad should have done years ago. I gathered the letters. Stopped you. Mum. Lindsay appeared behind her, eyes red from crying. Caden's calling off the wedding. He won't even talk to me. Fix this, my mother demanded. Now. No. Then I'll tell everyone what you're really like, Lindsay threatened. How you've always been jealous, always wanted what I had. Go ahead. I pulled out my phone. But first, explain this. I played the security footage again, this time with enhanced audio. Lindsay's voice filled the attic. A little humility would do her good. She's too perfect, just like her mother. Turn that off. Lindsay lunged for my phone, but Lara stepped between us. It's already online, I said calmly, along with the hospital records and police report. Police report. My mother's voice shook. Tampering with medication is a felony. I moved toward the stairs. The detective wants to speak with you both tomorrow. You'd send your own sister to jail? Lindsay whispered. You could have killed my daughter. She's fine. Because we got lucky, I shouted, making them both jump. Because the ambulance came quickly. Because the doctors knew what to do. But you didn't know that when you switched her pills, did you? You just wanted to hurt her, to hurt me. Silence filled the attic. Dust motes danced in the afternoon light, streaming through the window. Your father would be ashamed, my mother said finally. I held up his letters. Actually, I think he'd be proud. He left me these letters and the trust for exactly this moment when someone needed to protect this family from you two. My phone buzzed. A text from Quinn's nurse. She's asking for you. I have to go, I said, heading down the stairs. The eviction notice gives you 30 days. I suggest you start packing. Karen, wait. Lindsay's voice was small. Please. I'll apologise to Quinn. I'll do anything. I turned back one last time. You know what's funny? All those years, you thought Quinn needed a lesson in humility, but it was you who needed to learn what it feels like to lose everything. Outside, Lara let out a long breath. That was intense. It's not over, I said, getting into my car. They'll try something else. They always do. What makes you so sure? I held up Dad's letters. Because he warned me they would, and this time I'll be ready. As we drove away, I watched my mother and sister in the rearview mirror, standing in the doorway of the house they'd soon lose. They looked small somehow, diminished without their power and pride. My phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from an unknown number. You've made a terrible mistake. Blood is thicker than water. I showed it to Lara. See? Already starting. What are you going to do? I smiled grimly. Exactly what Dad would have wanted. Protect what's right. The video arrived in my inbox at 3 a.m, sent anonymously, but I knew it had to be from one of Caden's event staff. The footage showed my mother and sister in what looked like a hotel conference room, their voices rising above the sound of moving furniture. This is all your fault, Sylvia screamed at Lindsay. You couldn't leave well enough alone, could you? Had to teach Quinn a lesson. Now look what's happened. I watched it 3 times before forwarding it to Patterson, my trust lawyer. His response came minutes later. This is exactly what we needed. Quinn was being discharged today, and I was gathering her things when Caden appeared in the doorway of her hospital room. Can we talk? He asked quietly. Quinn looked between us. Mum, it's okay. I need to pack anyway. In the hallway, Caden ran a hand through his dishevelled hair. I called off the wedding permanently. I heard, Lindsay, she's not who I thought she was. He pulled out his phone. Look at these texts she's been sending me. The messages were unhinged, Threats, guilt trips, promises to change. Classic Lindsay. She'll never change, I said. Neither will my mother. I know that now. He hesitated. There's something else. They're planning some kind of replacement wedding party. Private event, close friends only. They're trying to save face. I laughed. With what money? That's just it. They're asking guests to help fund it, calling it a love offering or something. My phone buzzed. Another anonymous text. Your mother is trying to file for emergency guardianship of Quinn. Claims you're mentally unstable. Wow, I showed Caden the message. They really don't give up. Karen, Lindsay's voice echoed down the hospital corridor. She was walking toward us wearing oversized sunglasses and carrying what looked like a gift bag. You need to leave, Caden said firmly. I'm here to apologize to my niece. She tried to push past us into Quinn's room. I blocked the doorway. No, you can't keep me from her forever. Lindsay's voice cracked. I made a mistake. I want to make it right. A mistake? I stepped closer. You deliberately tampered with life-saving medication. That's not a mistake. That's a crime. The police already question me. They can't prove anything. No, I pulled out my phone. What about this new video? The one where you and Mom are screaming about how you had to teach Quinn a lesson. Her face went white. What video? The one that's being added to the police report right now. You're lying. Mom? Quinn called from inside the room. Can we go home now? Lindsay tried one last time to look past me. Quinn, honey, I brought you a present. Stay away from my daughter. My voice was ice. Or the next call I make won't be to the trust lawyers. It'll be to the district attorney. She backed away slowly, then turned and ran toward the elevator. Caden watched her go with a mixture of pity and disgust. I can't believe I almost married her, he said quietly. Back in Quinn's room, she was sitting on the edge of her bed, fully dressed and ready to go. Was that Aunt Lindsay? Yes, but she's gone now. Good. Quinn picked up her backpack. I don't want to see her anyway. My phone buzzed again, this time from Patterson. Emergency hearing tomorrow regarding your mother's guardianship petition. Don't worry, we have everything we need to shut it down. What's wrong? Quinn asked, seeing my expression. Nothing, baby. I helped her with her jacket. Just more drama from Grandma and Aunt Lindsay. They're not going to stop, are they? No, I squeezed her hand. But they can't hurt us anymore. As if on cue, my mother's voice carried from the nurse's station. I'm her grandmother. I have a right to see her. Time to go, I said, guiding Quinn toward the back exit. In the parking lot, Lara was waiting with her car running. Need a getaway driver? Quinn managed a small laugh as we climbed in. Through the rear window, I could see my mother bursting out of the hospital entrance, looking around wildly. Where are we going? Quinn asked. Home, I said. And then, tomorrow, we're going to make sure they never try something like this again. How? I thought about the video, the police report, Dad's letters, and the trust documents. By showing everyone exactly who they really are. Lara pulled onto the highway just as my mother spotted our car. The last thing I saw in the mirror was her standing in the middle of the parking lot, screaming something we couldn't hear. Mom! Quinn's voice was small. Are we going to be okay? I reached back and took her hand. We already are, baby. We already are. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Patterson. Everything's ready for tomorrow. They won't know what hit them. Good, I thought, because this time the lesson in humility would be permanent. The replacement wedding party was in full swing when I walked into the country club's ballroom. Lindsay had managed to gather about 50 people, mostly her friends who didn't know the full story yet. My mother stood near the champagne fountain, pretending everything was fine. I wasn't invited, of course, but I didn't need an invitation anymore. Oh, God, Lindsay whispered when she spotted me. Security! Security! They won't help you, I said calmly, setting my briefcase on the nearest table. I'm still a member here. Dad made sure of that. Get out! My mother hurried over, her face flushed. Haven't you done enough damage? Actually, I pulled out a stack of folders. I'm just getting started. Caden emerged from the crowd. What's going on? Karen's trying to ruin everything again, Lindsay sobbed. On my special day. Special day? I laughed. You mean your fake wedding party? The one you're funding with donated money because you lost access to the trust? The room got quieter. Guests were starting to pay attention. You want to know why she lost access? I raised my voice slightly. Because she tampered with my daughter's medication, put her in the hospital, and my mother helped cover it up. That's a lie, Sylvia snapped. Really? I opened my briefcase. I have copies for everyone. Security footage, hospital records, police reports, and the Trust Board's official findings. Oh, and let's not forget Dad's letters. What letters? Someone asked. I thought, the ones my mother hid from me. The ones where Dad explained why he left me in charge of the trust, because he knew exactly what kind of people they were. Lindsay lunged for the briefcase, but Caden caught her arm. Don't, he said quietly. It's over. I also have something else, I continued, pulling out one final document. The results of the Morgan Stanley audit, showing how my mother has been embezzling from the trust for years. The whispers grew louder. People were backing away from my mother and sister. You're just jealous, Lindsay screamed. You've always been jealous of me. Jealous? I stepped closer. Of what? Your fake life? Your lies? The way you hurt people and expect everyone to pretend it's okay? I'm your sister. No, I said quietly. You're just someone who shares my DNA. And now everyone knows exactly who you are. My mother tried one last time. Your father would be ashamed. Don't you dare talk about Dad. I pulled out his last letter. Want me to read what he really thought of you both? He wrote it all down. Please, Lindsay whispered, don't do this. Like you didn't do this to Quinn? Like you didn't try to humiliate my daughter? The room was silent now. Every eye was on us. You know what's funny? I looked around at the gathered crowd. All these people donated money to help you save face. Did you tell them where the trust money really went? Did you tell them about Quinn? I think, Caden said loudly, this party is over. People began gathering their things, murmuring amongst themselves. Someone unplugged the music. The champagne fountain gurgled to a stop. You've ruined everything, my mother hissed. No, I corrected her. You did that yourselves. I just made sure everyone knew about it. I left the folders on the table and walked out, leaving them standing in their empty party room. As I reached my car, I could hear Lindsay's sobs echoing across the parking lot. My phone buzzed, a text from Quinn. How did it go? It's done, I typed back. Want to go play some piano? At the hospital conservatory? Yeah. I heard there's a little girl in the cancer ward who loves music. Thought maybe you could play for her. On my way. I started the car, glancing back at the country club one last time. Through the windows, I could see people hurrying to their cars, leaving my mother and sister alone in their ruined celebration. My phone buzzed again. Lara this time. Did you do it? Yes, I replied. And you know what? It didn't even feel like revenge. It felt like justice. Later that evening, I sat in the hospital conservatory, watching Quinn play Chopin for a small girl in a wheelchair. The child's face lit up with every note, and Quinn was smiling. Really smiling, for the first time since the recital. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from an unknown number. You'll regret this. Family is forever. I deleted it without responding. They were wrong. Family isn't forever. Family is a choice. And sometimes The best choice is to walk away and build something better. Quinn hit the final notes of the piece, and the little girl clapped with delight. This, I thought, is what really matters. Not revenge, not punishment, just love, music, and the truth finally set free. The autumn wind scattered leaves across my father's headstone as Quinn and I approached with fresh flowers. She carried a single red-tipped rose, his favourite, and something else clutched in her small hand. "Can I do it, Mom?" I nodded, watching as she placed the rose against the granite, then carefully set a single sugar candy beside it. Our private joke, our reminder of how everything had changed. "I played Chopin again yesterday," Quinn told the headstone. "The whole piece this time, no interruptions." My phone buzzed. Another letter from my mother, forwarded by her attorney. I deleted it without reading, just like all the others. The last one I'd opened had been the same old story. Half apologies wrapped in guilt and manipulation. "Mom?" Quinn pointed toward the cemetery entrance. "Isn't that Aunt Lindsay's fiancé? I mean, ex-fiancé?" Caden was walking toward us, hands in his pockets against the chill. "I heard Lindsay moved away," he said when he reached us. "Some small town out west. Changed her name." "I know." I'd received the private investigator's report last week. She was working as a waitress, drowning in debt now that the trust money was gone forever. "How did you find us here?" "Your friend Lara told me. I wanted you to know. I testified at the disciplinary hearing about what Lindsay did to Quinn." Quinn squeezed my hand. "The medical board had suspended our family doctor for covering up the medication tampering at my mother's request. One more consequence neither of them had seen coming." "Thank you," I said quietly. "Is it true about your mum? That she lost the house?" "The trust sold it last week." I smiled slightly. "To a lovely family with 3 kids who can't wait to renovate it." "And the money?" "Going to children's hospitals. Dad would have liked that." Quinn tugged my sleeve. "Can I go play by the oak tree? Just for a minute?" I watched her skip away, her dark hair catching the sunlight. She was stronger now, more confident. The nightmares about the recital had finally stopped. "She's resilient," Caden observed. "She is." I turned back to my father's grave. "More than any of us knew." "Listen." Caden shifted uncomfortably. "There's something else. Your mother, she's been calling my office, trying to get me to help her appeal the trust decision. Says she's living in some tiny apartment now." "Good. You really don't feel bad? About any of it?" I thought about Quinn collapsed on that stage, about years of watching Lindsay hurt people while our mother enabled her, about Dad's letters hidden away while I blamed myself for everything. "No," I said finally. "I don't feel bad. They chose cruelty over kindness, pride over love, every single time." "Mom!" Quinn called from the oak tree. "Look what I found." She came running back with something in her hands, a perfect red maple leaf, the same colour as the tip of the rose on Dad's grave. "Can we press it in your journal, like Grandpa taught us?" My throat tightened. "Of course we can." Caden cleared his throat. "I should go. I wanted you to know you did the right thing. All of it." After he left, Quinn and I stood quietly by Dad's grave. The wind picked up, sending more leaves dancing around us. "Do you miss them?" Quinn asked suddenly. "Grandma and Aunt Lindsay?" "I miss who I wanted them to be," I answered honestly, "but not who they really were." "Me too." She placed the maple leaf carefully next to the sugar candy. "But I'm glad we have each other." My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Lara. "Hospital board approved the new children's wing. The trust money's doing good things." I showed Quinn the text, watching her face light up. "Want to go play piano for the kids in the cancer ward again?" "Yes!" She practically bounced with excitement. "I learned a new piece just for them. As we walked back to the car, I glanced over my shoulder at Dad's grave. The red-tipped rose stood bright against the grey stone, the sugar candy and maple leaf beside it like small offerings to memory. They say revenge is sweet, but this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice, about protecting what mattered, about choosing love over obligation. Dad had known that when he left me the trust. He'd known exactly what would happen one day. "Ready?" Quinn called from the car. "Ready," I answered, turning away from the past and towards something better. Something real. They say family is forever, but they're wrong. Family is a choice. And sometimes the best choice is to let go of the family you were born with and build the one you deserve. Quinn was already humming her new piece as we drove away, and I smiled. This was our forever now, and it was better than anything revenge could have given us.